Hello again. Today Tom and I are going to talk about caravans and batteries because we've been getting a little bit of chit chat that everyone's a little bit confused about things. Not everyone, some people make out they know what they're talking about. I do that a lot. But in general terms, a new caravan runs on 12 volt power, which is why there's batteries on board. The lights are all 12 volt. In an old caravan, you might have two switches, black one and a white one, because some of the van runs 240 volt, some of the van will run on 12 volt. A new caravan is built to run on 12 volt all the time. So there's no great difference if you're in a park or free camping. What keeps your batteries charged up is generally your battery management system, which we've talked about before, the red arc stuff. The batteries and the management systems generally talk about things in amps. So in this, for example, there's 200 amps of batteries on board. But we're running a 12 volt system, I hear you say. Yes, there's some math involved in how all that works. And then people get a little bit more tangled up because we put solar panels on, which talks about watts. So they go, hang on, we're talking about watts coming in from the solar that's going into the batteries, which are amps, which I'm then using for my caravan, which is volts. And if I try and buy a coffee machine, that tells me an output in wattage again. Why does my panel go from watts through the van back to watts? That's a big bubble of talk. The basic thing to remember is your caravan runs on your batteries, which is 12 volt. A caravan like this, if we were using everything in it, and I'm talking all the lights, the radio, the TV, everything that runs 12 volt, will pull about 10 amps. So the easy math is 200 amps of batteries on board, turning everything on at 10 amps, 20 hours of life, with no input of power. When we put the solar on the roof, let's assume there's 400 watts of solar, that'll run through, in this case, the red arc system at 30 amps per hour. So if we put on a bank of solar panels the size of a small country, it's still only letting 30 in. That'll top up your batteries. So a little bit of a breakdown on the solar panel to your amperages in. On a 420 watt solar array, we divide that by 12 because it's a 12 volt system. We come in at a nice math number of 35 amps. That's great. We've got a 30 amp system. So these panels are going to always be working at maximum. If it's a shady day, you might not get that maximum input. So depending on, if you're always going to travel in the sun, great. If you're going to travel where it's hot, humid, overcast, the panels, as good as they are, they'll work better if you've got more of them because they can work at half pace if you follow the logic on that, and you'll still get your 30. It'll suck in more information coming into, or more solar coming in through the funnel, and you can still get your 30 amp input. You overload your system, you just spend the money on it for no reason at all. You'd be better off upgrading to an Alpha 50 or something like that, so on a sunny day you punch in more power. If you were to run something like a coffee machine, they draw about 1300 watts. For a little coffee machine, whatever brand, DeLonghi or whoever you got, that won't run on a 12 volt system. You buy yourself a percolator instead. That converts into about 6 amps of a power draw on a 240 volt system. That's the same as nearly running everything in this van as it is. That's when people want to talk about inverters because they like their coffee, or they want to run their air conditioner, or they want to run their washing machine when they're on camp, or they want to pop popcorn in the microwave when they're camping. This is the discussion we have in detail with our guys at Performance Auto Electrical because they're the electricians. This is more of a give you guys an idea of what you're looking for and some of the questions you might ask. So now we're looking at a bit of a real world application. We're finished in the classroom, which is a lovely classroom. If I wake up the Red Vision screen and we're running the aircon flat out because it's 40 something degrees outside today, the initial part of the screen, which is what you'll probably use more so than the math, is telling us our battery on board is down to 60%. We've got an hour's left, but again, we're running everything. We're not plugged in, it's full sun. It's just crazy. And you can see to our usage, even though our input is maxed out at 31.6 amps, our usage is at 140 amps. If I turn off our inverter, which will turn off the air conditioner, turn off the microwave, turn off Tommy's coffee machine, we have dropped straight away to 9.2 amps. We are now charging again, and it's telling us that we're going to be fully charged in less than a day. So part of what is better in a real world application is to have a look at a van in the yard. You can see what it's doing. So in this exact van, we've got a 3000 watt red arc inverter hiding discreetly under there. I say discreetly because it's massive. But it's been built to run every 240 volt appliance in this van and all the outlets, the GPOs. Because I've just turned it all back on again, which the switch is conveniently there, we're going to see our amperage here climb massively because aircons use a lot of power. We'll also see the 10 hours change from 10 hours of charging. It'll come up with a red arrow in a minute, because a 3000 watt inverter can draw anywhere up to 15 watts just at idle, converting that 12 volt back up to 240. So it's not a direct math. You can't just bang away you go, because that thing's using 12 volt, spinning it so it becomes 240 volts. It's got to use energy to get that to get up to something to run that. So the sun on the roof is punching in 30 amps. Now we can see that the arrow's shifted. We're down to a few days because the aircon is starting to draw power. It's starting to draw, it's counting up. It's going, all right, let's go. We're on 30 amps. This will keep climbing. This will get to 40, this will get to 50, this will get to 60. The more it's using, the more power your inverter's using, the more power your battery's using, because we are limited to how much input we're getting from the solar. Even if I had an array of 20 panels, I'm only getting 30 amps in. There we go. The aircon's now kicking in. We're over 100 amps, which if you pull up at your campsite and you fire that bad boy up, because it was already hot in here, of course, this thing's going to chew a fair bit of power. And if you pull up late in the day, you're not getting any solar in. So you've got to have a bit of a think about how your power usage is going to be. All right, so in a real world example, we'll throw in a little confusion because, again, the roof's talking about watts, the charging system is talking about amps, the battery's talking about amps, then we go back to watts to the inverter. This is a 3000 watt inverter. Any 240 volt appliance you plug into your caravan cannot go above the sum total of 3000 watts. So a coffee machine, if it's 1200 watts, great, plug it in, knock yourself out. You then plug a hairdryer in at 2000 watts, I don't know what they run, I don't blow dry my hair. But if the 2000 watts and you're trying to make a coffee at the same time, you're at 3200, you can trip your inverter. So when you're trying to work out what appliances you can run in your caravan, or what appliances you need to then how big your inverter has to be, it's a quick, easy math. You just add them up. So a fresh jet air conditioner, 2200 watts. 3000 watt inverter, if I'm running the aircon, I've got potentially 800 watts of spare, so I can't run my coffee machine and the air conditioner. Hopefully that makes a bit more sense. Now that we've wrapped our heads around, right, I want to run the aircon and my coffee machine, oh hang on, I'll turn that off for a minute, make up a couple of lattes. Where it gets confusing, of course, is your inverter uses power to make power, so the math is not a direct conversion. The cheaper your inverter, it's going to use a lot more power to convert your 12 volt up to the 240 to run your 1000 watt hair straightener or whatever it might be. So the better quality inverter uses less power to get up there. So it's always worth investing that little bit more money in a quality inverter system. And then you backtrack through what your van's got. How heavy, how much amp can you punch in at any one time? In this case, it's only 30. How much solar is going to punch in? 30. 200 amps battery. Running your van, 10 amps an hour without all this 240 volt stuff on, knock yourself out. You got to keep an eye on your screen is the easiest way, because nobody likes doing math on holiday. How long you got left? It's now telling us our battery's down to 49%, because we're not plugged in. Bit of shades tracking over. We're still punching the aircon flat out because Tommy doesn't like the heat. But again, if I turn the aircon off, we'll see that we come back to a normal caravan situation. Bang, we're back under 10 amps. We're still punching in 30 to get our battery charged up, which now says it's going to take less than a day to be fully charged again. And of course, we're still running all the lights. So in a normal world, we won't have all the lights on. Battery's fully charged. Your inverter will work a lot better. For absolute specifics, give us a buzz. You can either chat to me or our guys at Performance Auto Electrical. They'll dig down into what you've actually got, what you need, what your appliances want to run, and away we go. We can build the van how you want it to function so it'll work properly. Now that I've turned the aircon off, it is going to get hot in here. As much as I enjoyed Tom's company, I'm going to go back inside and have a coffee because we've been talking about coffee too long.